Warming up. So yeah, here we go with our manual resharing. If you are currently watching, this is a recorded live stream, which means you are either watching right now as we are streaming and doing the show, or watching in the future after we've done the show. If you're watching right now, please do send a message so we know you're there because we can't actually tell if you're watching until you send a comment.
Mm-hmm.
If you are watching in the future, feel free to jump forward to the actual start of the show or just watch us babble as we manually reshare our links. Oh my gosh, we didn't check for audio, so I
Oh,
might have.
it's okay.
Okay.
I
Okay.
switched.
It's on Facebook. Sending to our mailing list. Okay.
Oh, in case you're wondering, this has a solo mode.
Mm, okay, I can send it there also.
Oof, refreshing tabs.
Yeah.
A little slow. Okay. Or at least the other tabs I'm trying to manipulate. They're not being friendly to me. Whoa, super not responsive tabs. I can't get to my Twitter.
No.
Uh,
I'll share on my Twitter.
uh,
Hopefully you can just reshare.
yeah, I mean, I can just go back to my phone, maybe. Um, okay, there.
Oh, reshared it to the other Twitter. Let's go to the other one.
I have my awkward typing position because the boxes are there,
Yeah.
right? Just trying not to hit them. Oh no, I pasted when I wanted to copy.
Okay, I have reshared in what I think is all I can.
Boop 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 boop. Yeah. So
So the heat continues to get oppressive, but thankfully we can afford to have air conditioning on. So
yay for small joys.
yes. And then what else? Gas prices are going up everywhere.
That may change a lot of things.
So I think the last increase was like 5.5 pesos. So that's a huge jump.
Yeah, so if you're thinking that, things like the conflict in Ukraine have no impact on you, you are very wrong. Mitch is here. Hello, Mitch.
It's practically a 10% increase.
Mm-mm. Depending, and the scales keep shifting.
Hey, Mitch. Mitch, we just watched that episode in Goblin where they finally are connecting that she's the sister. Okay.
We're about, I think we're at episode 10. So yeah, we're in the last third na. So we're due for another mini fight, I think. Because the main
or
the
we're due.
main the main couple is doing okay again, so now it's the B couple that's not
Yeah.
doing well.
We're either due for a mini fight or due for a major reconciliation, but then the reveal of a villain.
Yeah, okay. The episode did end with like, who the hell was that?
Yeah, there was that weird who's that guy? The first scruffy guy in the entire. show.
Mitch asking how we find the story of Goblin so far. It's
Right.
okay. Yeah, it's pretty fun. Crash Landing was definitely stronger.
Well, more what we're looking for.
Maybe. And then I think,
Plus,
but
Goblin,
okay.
I appreciated the themes, but the storytelling is kind of harder to get into compared to Crash Landing.
Yeah. And then like in Crash Time, because even the B plots like with the other soldiers, they're awesome.
Because it felt like you didn't have to struggle to understand why they're doing what they're doing.
Mm, mm.
Here, there was a lot of, I guess that's a cultural thing, or I think we're missing a reference. And there were
Mm.
a lot of those moments.
How would you compare it to Coffee Prince? Because I feel like Coffee Prince was just like warmer, hard on it,
Yeah.
sleevish,
Yeah.
like earnest.
Mm.
And then Goblin's clearly trying to be like lofty, poetic.
I think what I liked about Coffee Prince is you felt they were sharing the the lead role. Whereas
Oh.
here, you can't tell who's the lead role because they both seem to be weirdly more responsive than leading. You get what I mean? They both keep reacting to things rather than doing things. So you don't feel like any of them is a protagonist.
If anything, parang Grim Reaper has had more agency in his
Yeah,
life.
that's the weird thing
He's
about
done more for his B
it. But that
relationship.
deserves to be an episode of its own. Let's start the show.
All right, I'm gonna roll credits. Let me tidy up captions, and then we'll be right back and not talk about Goblin tonight. We'll be back.
Oh yeah! Really right.
This is Toby.
And this is Rocky.
And if it's your first time here, welcome to Baduy Pride, our little space on the internet where we talk about anything we want.
It's completely unscripted and not entirely accurate, but at least it's honest. Join us. We talk about everything and anything random live.
And if it's not your first time here, thank you so much for joining us again. This Tuesday, it's another board game. And this time we chose something because
There's a campaign. Okay.
on its last
A few hours. Yeah. I mean, so by the time that many people watch this recording,
it's over.
the Game Found campaign for 51st State Ultimate Set. Sorry, is that what it's called? Let me just give a. I didn't load. The one thing I loaded.
Ultimate Edition.
Ultimate Edition. So this game is going through an Ultimate Edition. So the Game Found campaign. I say Game Found because it's Game Found on Kickstarter. Includes a brand new expansion called No Man's Land, and then a bunch of other things. But this Ultimate Edition also gives you like a new storage solution and all the mini expansions that were ever released.
So yes, we're talking about 51st State.
Well, okay,
51st State.
different things. So this is the original 51st State as it came out. Back in, let's find out. I didn't get the date.
Back in 2010.
Oh, my computer is super slowing. Wait, let me close Game Found and then yeah, 2010. Okay.
Mhm.
And then it came up with two expansions. The first two expansions were called New Era and Winter. And then later they kind of reorganized things and came up with what is now known as
The Masters Edition.
51st State Master Set. And 51st State Master Set includes the original base game of 51st State plus the cards that we now associate with the New Era and Winter expansions. And then since then, all expansions have been released under the Master Set name.
Mhm.
It's funny because it was called Complete Master Set and then they added expansions. And then now there's an Ultimate Edition. So there's a lot going on. But we wanted to show our support for the campaign in its last few hours and talk about the game itself. So
both its original roots.
yeah, I mean ultimately it's still the same game.
Mhm.
The master set just kind of streamlined a few things and bundled things together to make it a lot easier. But it's kind of a gem that Toby still found this edition. It is in it's in a particular shelf hidden in the bedroom of all the games that we have doubles of. But majority of them are games that are portal games that we own
Yes.
multiple editions of.
Yes.
Like we have an older Neuroshima Hex.
We have
Older
older
Pretaporte, yeah, and then 51st State, among others. Okay, so what is 51st State?
So 51st State is a card game where you play one of different powers or factions, depending on what you want to call them. In the game, they are powers: the mutants, the traders, the New Yorkers, and the Appalachians, and try to build a new country. Players take advantage of different systems in the game, which include hand management, open drafting, variable player powers, as well as tableau building and um, resource management, as they explore this post-apocalyptic themed world where they have to search for locations, build structures,
Raise.
raid other
Raise.
rather other structures of opponents, and find the best way to make the most of every turn, because it's a race to the highest points, and there is a point milestone that triggers the end of the game.
No, it's exactly 5 rounds.
Isn't it? It triggers when someone point reach.
No, it's
I
5
remember there
rounds.
was no 5 rounds is Imperial Settlers.
Also, this one, that's why
Ah!
winter expansion introduces a 6th round.
Okay,
That's
okay,
why
you're right.
right. Okay.
Right.
Like many games that we love from Portal Games, it was designed by Ignacy Trzewiczek, and yeah, we a lot of our happy confusion with this game is because it shares a similar engine that was used for Imperial Settlers, and
Mhm.
we can talk about some of the differences there. But it's funny that we played Imperial Settlers first before we
Yes.
played 51st State. In the same way that we played Legendary Encounters first before we got to play Legendary Marvel, a deck building game.
Mhm.
So it's a lot of they share the same system, but they're tweaks, and it may have colored our impressions of the game when we first played it, because then we knew one system more than the other.
Mhm.
Okay.
Both editions of the game have their own share of recognition in terms of awards. The original version has an 2011 Jota Best Card Game Nominee Award, a nomination, as well as a 2011 Golden Geek Best Card Game nomination. The Master Set, on the other hand, has a 2016 Golden Geek Best Card Game nominee. One can only wonder if the Ultimate Edition will net awards as well. So, which one do we open first?
I think we can take a peek at the older one, but then ultimately we will talk more about the Master Set. But things do not super change. So both games are set in what is known as the Neuroshima universe. So
Mhm.
it's the same setting as the Neuroshima RPG, which is only available in Polish,
Mhm.
and games like Neuroshima Hex, Neuroshima Convoy.
Mhm.
I'm sure there are others, but yeah, there are a lot of games set in this post-apocalyptic setting, and it's called 51st State because it was set in a post-apocalyptic America. Okay, of all things.
And if you open the first box, it's a very humble looking box with tokens,
Yeah.
cards,
In the beginning, it was all tokens.
cards, and more tokens. Let's get to it real quick. Tokens are used to keep track of the various resources in the game, as well as other little elements which may be specific to the. I keep saying faction. They're not factions. To the powers that you have chosen to play with. Cards have a beautiful gritty art style to them, as you could see here, um, with lots of symbols used to help reduce the need for language when it comes to understanding the games. Yeah, let's open that real quick. Then you can handle the next box.
We've actually barely played this one. I haven't played this
Yeah.
edition because it's
So-
really more for collection.
As you could see, the symbology is there. You have different buildings, the old slaughterhouse. You have symbols there at the bottom as to what benefits what conversions to what. There's the blue area for deals at the bottom.
The red area is what you get when you raise the card.
Yeah, here in the top. Which basically are the basic systems expected of the game, similar to
Imperial Settlers and Alien Artifacts share some similar elements of the DNA. But yeah, I think we'll not dwell on this original edition. Yeah, this is a lot harder to find, and then realistically, you're probably going to play the master set. Even if you get the ultimate edition, even the card layouts have changed to match that. But it also looks more familiar if you play Imperial Settlers
Mhm.
because they share.
Oh no, the bag broke open. I'm serious.
Okay, I'm just gonna swap these boxes first, and so when you get to the master set,
Okay, I think that was.
Although our master set is no longer just the master set, so we practically own all the elements of the ultimate edition that's coming out. We don't have the special storage box, and we don't have one of the mini expansions because I'm a bit crazy. Okay, so it comes with a one sheet rules reference that's super helpful, your full rule book, and then many other things. So in terms of the base game, we upgraded from cardboard tokens to wooden tokens, at least for your four types of resources. And this is covered by things like the orange bricks, the blue gas cans, the
red guns.
the red guns, and then the gray gear things.
Yeah.
Then of course black people. Sorry, that sounds wrong. But then the little meeples that are black, okay, that represent workers in the game in that portally, yeah, in that portally shape. Okay, we'll skip this because this is a mini expansion. Um, then I think these are also promo cards. So the base game comes with essentially the original base game set of expansions, and then it has the new era cards in a separate set, and then the winter cards. And then, like Imperial Settlers, you're only advised to play one expansion at a time because the number of cards in play matters. So there's kind of some swapping and substitution.
In
involved.
addition to the previous set, which was just cards and tokens, we now have a board that helps you keep track of the score. C25 is highlighted, so
Mhm.
I think it's still a trigger.
Okay.
And then we have the different powers. Power boards are double-sided boards because Portal Games is awesome that way. For example, the Merchants Guild has a version of artwork which is different.
Guy or girl, and if you also want to orient left or right.
So yeah, Texas,
Um,
Mississippi.
Sorry, this is already going to show more
Yes.
factions than the base game because I have over time acquired the additional factions that have been released, and the factions basically just change sort of the main powers that are listed on the board.
So as you can see, there's areas for deals at the top. There's areas that are divided into three sections. The production area, which tells you what you're able to produce every round. The feature area, which is the location for feature cards that can give you bonuses in a passive manner. And then there's the action area, which allows you to play cards that later give you additional action options. The red numbers shown in each of the boards also determines the raid target
The
number,
defense value.
which is how many raid value needed by opponents to destroy cards in that section. But as you can see, the board nicely tries to capture everything in one single glance.
Apart from the wooden tokens that represent resources, you also still have cardboard tokens that represent. Most of them represent what are those contact tokens, and they come in three main colors: blue, red, and gray, and they are used for different things. And then there are also the ammunition tokens, which is technically a wild resource that counts for the others for wood and whatnot. Okay. These are bonus. This is another expansion. So I guess you keep one player board out. Sorry. So
Okay.
similar to Imperial Settlers, we're going to talk about the rules. It's important to understand the types of cards that you get in the game. Cards will most likely fall into one of three types: production, feature, and action. And the reason why I point to the player board is that you will line up the cards alongside the appropriate row. So if you get a production card and you play it, then you play it on the production row, and so on and so forth.
So this is an example of a feature card that's listed there, whereas this one would be an example of a production card that's listed there.
So it's text driven in terms of knowing what type of card it is,
Mhm.
whether it's production, feature, or action. You must be able to read. The symbols have other roles to play in the game, similar to Imperial Settlers. Um, More importantly, when you're playing cards, and this is like one of the first of the three types of like contact kind of come into play, is that there are distance numbers on the upper right hand corner. So you'll see like here, this card is distance 1. And the distance represents like how far it is from your camp. And to build it, you'll need to discard a number of gray tokens equivalent to the distance.
To that value.
So that already kind of sets the game in terms of like, okay, if I want to play a card, I'll need to figure out where to get gray tokens.
The number is higher for typically what seem to be more powerful or useful cards, But at the same time, that might mean costing you more actions to prepare to build that card. So finding that perfect balance of taking the actions required to build for later actions is part of what makes this game interesting.
Yeah, and the distance element is actually unique to this game versus like Imperial Settlers. Imperial Settlers did not have a distance mechanic, but you would have to pay resources in that game to
Mm-mm.
play cards. Okay. Other things to note is like if the card is destroyed, there is a reward on the upper right hand corner of the card, similar to Imperial. And then the symbols really just depend on what's relevant to the card power. Then, based on whatever those cards are, you'll place them in production. So, production cards are typically things that produce resources. They will produce the moment you create them and then at the start of every round. So, they're useful to have for ongoing stuff. Features tend to be like passive abilities that are active throughout the game. This include things like storage, so that because at the end of the round you will get rid of tokens. So tokens that you don't spend. So if you had storage, which is typically a feature card, then you could hold on to them for the rest of the game,
Mhm.
at least right until the next round. And then at the bottom there are actions. So each of the actions you can take once, and then as you build more action cards, you can only take each action once per round unless otherwise stated on the card itself. Because there are a few actions that will mention they can be used more than once.
The game goes through a number of phases, and the phases help determine the actions that you will have access to. At the start of every round is what we call the lookout phase, and the lookout phase is one of the unique factors in this game that allows you to get new cards in a balanced manner.
Yes.
Depending on the number of players, a number of lookout cards is drawn, the number of players plus one.
Card draft time.
Players then get to pick one of the cards to represent a land or a location that they've spotted in the distance, and they take this in turn order. But then a second set of lookout cards is drawn, and this time in reverse order. Earlier, the one who was last to get a card is the one who gets the first pick. In both cases, the excess card is discarded, but everyone basically starts around with at least two new cards. And I say at least because, of course, there are other systems, cards, and opportunities to change the rules.
Yeah, because after Lookout, you go through production, where all your production cards will produce resources, and some cards will produce other cards, which means drawing it from the master
Yeah.
deck. And in this case, unlike Imperial Settlers, there are no faction decks. So the only thing that's different about each faction are what's printed on the faction board, sorry, the power board, or what you want to call it. So yeah, so the variety is a bit more different. You have to focus on, you're all working with the same pool of cards. Okay.
Production gives you resources from your faction board, which everyone has. But in addition, based on how you've been playing your turns, you can get additional production from deals you've made, from production locations you've built, and if you are using the expansion from city cards that are in play.
Mm-hmm.
After production, you then go to the action phase, and the action phase has every player taking a turn to play one action. You must always play an action on your turn, and if you choose not to, you can choose to pass, but that ends your participation in that round until the next round begins. So, until all the other players have passed, the moment you've passed, you end up just watching and waiting.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But passing has its benefits, because passing means that you cannot be the target of
Raise.
enemy actions, so they can attack you. And they also can no longer use what are known as open production spaces, which is like a subsystem, which you can. We probably won't dive too much into these systems in the course of this discussion. Okay.
Once everyone has passed, we check if anyone has reached the requisite 25 or higher victory points. If not, then the game continues to the next round, which means cleanup first happens, where all the remaining goods that cannot be stored are thrown away. All unclaimed connection cards are discarded. The first player token passes, and Lookout begins anew.
And that's 51st Day. It doesn't necessarily sound super exciting, but it's actually still quite a compelling engine. I like it was just a little weird coming from Imperial, because
Yes.
Imperial Settlers teaches you a lot. There's a certain thing you get used to Imperial Settlers. You get used to the joys of the faction deck and how your development becomes very unique
Mm-mm.
versus the mains. And in fact, typically in an Imperial Settlers game, by the end of the game, you probably would have gotten rid of all your common cards
Yeah.
and are mainly left with faction cards in your Empire tableau.
Mhm.
In 51st State, you're all working with the same pool, and that's a totally different challenge because then it feels a bit more equal that you all kind of have the same chance at
Mhm.
cards, and the deck of your even just your base deck has a lot of variety. There are not necessarily there may be doubles, but not necessarily too many of each card, and how that balances out makes for an interesting back and forth.
The game also tries to make sure that you always have options on what to do. So, other than making sure every faction starts with a number of resources that, if you realize how it works best, perfectly works well with its playstyle, there are connection cards drawn at the start of each round as well, which offer alternative options different from the ones you are normally used to. Taking connection cards usually costs two people, but then offers quick surges of resources that may make the difference in what you want to do. Note, however, that there are usually less connection cards than there are players. So you will want to make sure you grab, sorry, there are less options than there are players. So you might want to grab it before others do.
Yeah, we haven't really gotten to talk about them, and I mean show them off. There's like small decks for
Mhm.
these blue and red ones, and notice how thin these decks are, and only one is visible per round. Um, and if someone takes one of them, you do not immediately reveal another one.
Mhm.
So they're quite interesting bonuses, but costly because it takes two workers or two whatever
Yes.
two people to get them, and so it's like they go away so quickly. Okay.
Hey, so what do you like about the game?
Um. Okay, I like the fundamental engine of Imperial Settlers. I think I think of it as the Imperial Settlers engine. Really, it's the 51st State engine. Even the twists that we saw with alien artifacts, um, it became quite different. Here you go.
Yeah.
And I like how equal, quote unquote, it feels, but at the same time, how wildly different your play
Mhm.
becomes. Because just the differences between what each faction can do, it seems very subtle. Like production wise, it'll be almost always the same in terms of like maybe total number of tokens.
Mhm.
But then the tokens you get totally change your impact. For example, if you look at the university, they produce a lot of people, but they produce cards as part of their production and gray to build tokens. Whereas the hegemony has people, gray contact, and then one multicolored contact token, which is like, ooh, that gives me more things to do. And then our Merchants Guild earlier, they produce fuel in addition to gray and a card. So nice little mix there.
Mhm.
And just those subtle changes impact the game. But I think the big differences are really on the action side because normally there's always one resource that you or typically one resource you spend where you get three tokens in return
Mhm.
or two tokens in return. And others you just get one, which shows that you're not great at it, which kind of tempers where you can go, and that influences your gameplay a lot. Apart from what cards you actually get. The master set, starting with the master set, really introduced a lot more game to it with the wooden tokens. I admit I like the variety of shapes here. Very thematic to the
Mhm.
world. Imperial Settlers gave us more basic looking thing because we had wood, stone, uh, tomato, fruit, apple. The fruit, the generic fruit, the red one,
Gold.
and gold as a token. I mean, fundamentally, it's the same thing, but
Mhm.
I guess it's just very evocative with this whole industrial look. The fact that you're collecting guns and gas and parts,
Mhm.
and then how your bullets are your wild resource, which just represents the use of force to
Mhm.
do everything that you couldn't normally do. And I there's like so much theme built
Mhm.
into the components. I love this aspect of 51st Day.
And this also applies with the other resource, which is brick. Brick has the potential of being much more useful when you do development actions.
Mm-mm.
Development is when you replace an existing location with another location that has a matching symbol. but it basically allows you uh, to build things at cost, but better or faster or more economical than others.
So there have been a lot of expansions to 51st State. There are little mini component expansions. For example, this adds wooden tokens that you can use as score trackers, small sets of additional cards you can get.
Mhm.
But there are also some full proper expansions that came out after New Era and Winter. The first of the expansions being Scavengers.
Probably.
Oops, sorry. And it's like they're in the same size of what later on became Imperial Settlers, like Empire packs. So, which is kind of cool. Uh, there's Allies, which introduces more factions into the game, so to speak, in terms of what cards are present. And then I did my Imperial Settlers method of hiding them there. We have Moloch, which represents because you're the Moloch, the other year, and then all the robots that come in. There are the city tiles mini expansion. These are the original victory point trackers that I've stored on the side. And then there's the border tiles expansion, which adds little small rules. And if you've played Imperial Settlers and seen some of their mini expansions, you'll notice a lot of similar elements that kind of play across the games. But then there are still differences, and it still makes for a lot of fun. I think 51st State's one of the strongest elements is theme.
Mhm.
It's just so, I mean, like, I know that there have been so many post-apocalyptic stories at this point if you look at modern entertainment, but as a game, I really felt I enjoyed that here. Don't get me wrong, I like Neuroshima Hex.
Mhm.
Okay, Neuroshima Hex is a fun, quick fighting army
Highly
action
bad.
game. But like, you don't necessarily get as much feel for it as the
Mhm.
theme, I feel, because of course this game has the advantage of having a lot more cards, and then just looking at the cards that are there, and suddenly, okay, whether it's as mundane as a power station or it's a pub, but then things like assassins and heavy
Mhm.
machinery, and like, I like the imagery and the kind of subtle stories it conveys. And then just the core game engine in itself is just brilliant. I mean, like, Imperial Settlers tweaked it and took it to a whole different level, but I would not necessarily say that 51st State is a step back.
Mhm.
They're very different paths,
Yes.
and they're both very enjoyable. And the same thing with Alien Artifacts. I keep pointing because it's literally somewhere there off camera. Alien Artifacts has a similar, like, there are three rows, and then you add your
And
cards in those
whereas,
areas.
but Alien Artifacts innovated in that your resource cards are also the
Yeah,
cards you use for other things.
yeah,
which-
that main deck.
and it acts as a timer. So it's like, what? All this and just one deck.
The more resources you spend, then it's trouble. And Mitch just mentions keeps mishearing 51st dates.
Portal
Valid.
Games use the detective system and make a Neuroshima Hex mystery called 50 First Dates.
Okay. So what do you get if you? And this is a side note for people who are curious. Then why are we excited about the Kickstarter? So one, there's a new expansion called No Man's Land.
Mhm.
It adds territory. There's going to be things to fight over.
Mhm.
We haven't had locations
So
before.
Lookout is all about places you've snared before others can get
Yeah,
there.
yeah, like you
But
scouted.
territories are like out
Shared
in
things
the open.
to control. I don't know. I didn't want to read the rules yet of the full expansion. Portal, if they announce an expansion, I'm pre-ordering it right away. That's our relationship with Portal. I just
Mhm.
accept that if they're going to release something, I'm going to pre-order it, and then it's going to come with a new storage solution. It comes with a 3D, new 3D printed first player marker that will replace our like macho guy who's just there, right? The guy on the cover, um, and then there's an additional faction called Urbanopolis that is coming out that is part of that. And because I followed the campaign early, then I get that one for free.
Mhm.
What else? And then it's like every single mini expansion. Okay, what mini expansion do we possibly not have? I think there are some FLGS promos we don't have. And then the arena promo, because I have been looking for you forever. And that I think is the main reason why I'm getting it. So if you're like us who at least own the master set and the boxed expansions, you can still back the campaign now, and then you can get the upgrade kit which gives you all the new components, the mini expansions, the new box and stuff. So that's pretty cool. And then as add-ons, you can also buy sleeves.
Mm.
There's a set of 440 sleeves, which theoretically are enough to sleeve everything. I am worried if that's really true, but I will do it. Um, there's also new versions of the tokens that are screen printed. So now
But no 3D printed miniature this time.
no, but the yeah. So now the followers have like designs on them, and I think they look like Shy Guys from Mario, but
Mhm.
black. And I think that looks really cute. Um, what are the optional things? Oh, and then if you really wanted to, which I haven't done, is that you could get playmats per player.
Yeah.
There's like optional neoprene playmats per player. You will need one per player, so that's four playmats. Unless you don't play with people, then you can just play solo because the game still has a solo variant.
And the
Um,
Kickstarter has the Kickstarter Game Found thing has a. I read there was an exclusive for the solo variant.
yeah, yeah. There's a because there's a fan solo variant that they're supporting, and then they're tweaking the system to to make it part of this release. If I'm
Yeah.
not mistaken, I've been following the updates for
And
that.
then on the Board Game Geek, there are also other variants for the solo variant. There's one that uses dice to manipulate the actions of the AI. There's the other one that just follows the system. So it offers more options of play.
Yeah, so there is still time. At least at the time of this live stream, there is still time to back this. Oh, there is also like an optional. I can pledge €10 for for Ukraine,
Mm-hmm.
um, and it gives you access
Support.
also to a 2 hour live stream. But like in terms of if you get the everything set. So the everything set, the ultimate set is like you don't own anything or you're willing to replace everything that you own, and I will list it for you because I love these guys. So if you get the Ultimate Edition, it includes all expansions, including No Man's Land. It includes the new box with the artwork, and the artwork is basically it's slices of the art of the different expansions
Mm-hmm.
overlaid. Some people don't like it, but I think it's still cool. You get the plastic storage for all your components. You get your victory point board. You get your upgraded victory wooden token markers. So the ones that are like this. You get the special first player plastic marker, which is basically 51st and like this, whatever line down.
Mm-hmm.
You get your main faction boards. You get the base game cards, the new era cards, and the winter cards. You get the connection cards. You get the screen printed, engraved,
Wooden
resources. So
tokens.
wooden, fuel, iron, guns. See the workers? They remind me of Shy Guys with gas masks. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
shield tokens for the police. You get your bullet tokens, your development tokens, your contact tokens, blue, green, gray, and multicolored, and then the multipliers. You get a super combined rulebook for all the stuff. You get your scavengers expansion, your allies expansion. You get your
Moloch expansion.
Moloch expansion. You get the additional tokens for the Iron Gang, the Suresh, and the Urbanopolis influence. You get the more Moloch, that means it's the machine cards and the Moloch server room promo.
Mm-hmm.
Do I have the server room? I can't remember. Okay, and then
No Man's
that's
Land.
why I have to read it back. And then the No Man's Land is the new expansion, which because of if you go for the Game Found campaign, you get the exclusive area playmat that you need for the No Man. Well, that upgrades your No Man's Land experience. If not, you just use the base area cards that come with
Mm-hmm.
the set, and then outpost tokens. And then the Game Found campaign comes with all the mini expansion, which includes the Texas Hegemony, Mississippi, and University factions with their appropriate wooden markers,
Mm-hmm.
the 3 city tiles expansion
Mm-hmm.
and the tokens for each faction, the solo variants, 6 more cards, 4 border tiles, the arena tile. See, I just want that one arena tile.
Mm-hmm.
That's gonna drive me nuts. And a 74-page novel, which is not available if you just get the upgrade. You have to get the ultimate everything set.
Mm-hmm.
I will probably buy the novel a la carte in retail when it becomes available. Um, I don't know. I still have a few hours to make my decision. So as of the time of this, it's like what's the hour count on this? There are 3 hours left at this campaign, so it's gonna end at like 1 a.m. our
Mm-hmm.
time thereabouts. It's very exciting. We're probably if we're still awake, we'll probably still watch some of the
Actually,
live
I
stream
realized you
stuff.
should have screen shared while you were reading through it.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I just geeked out. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. It's okay. They're getting enough coverage as it is. So, yes. So that's that. So it's a very very fun game.
Mhm.
Tactics, I guess, or strategy recommendations.
Plan ahead. You definitely have to plan ahead. This is one of those games where taking risks, like, I don't know what, so I'll try doing this to get a card first, will pay off,
Mm,
because since you only have generally 6 cards in your hand at the start of every turn, the need to know your options is very important, and card draw is one of the biggest ways you will open up more options.
yeah, it's like which is like a universal truth between this game and Imperial Settlers, and in
Yes.
both cases, card draw is like a bit of a challenge.
Mhm.
Um, at the same time, though, don't be so married to like I am going to build every card in my hand. There are some cards that look great because they can generate victory points, but maybe the number of steps you need to take to set that up so that you
Mhm.
can build those victory points can be trickier. For example, like it needs gears, but your base board does not produce gears. So I need something that produces gears, and then I need to be able to purchase this card, which means I need gray contact enough to purchase the
Mhm.
cards to begin with, and then play them out, and then take the actions. And then by that time, how many other things have your opposing players done? How many points have they scored while you're
Mhm.
setting up this complicated engine? Not to say that these engines are bad, but just like think about what you're trading off all the time. It's
Mhm.
very, very tricky. What else?
Never shy away from open production cards.
Ooh,
While they do give opponents access to resources thanks to your cards, that does mean you get the boost of a follower or more as you get more open production cards. And that can be invaluable, especially since followers can be universally used to get other things in your faction board.
yeah. I mean, like if other players use your open production spots, then that might give you more workers to like go over and take one of those contact. The blue or red
Mhm.
cards that might provide a great influx of resources, even if it's just one time. Um, and then I guess don't ignore the printed benefits on your faction board, on your power board. Sorry,
Mhm.
but I will say faction because of Imperial Settlers.
Yeah,
But
same.
because the apart from production, which you'll stare at the beginning of every round, but paying attention to what your feature is, there is always a default feature on the faction,
Mhm.
and then the differences in the actions, because the actions, whichever action gives you a lot of one resource, is implied like the strength of your faction, and
Yes.
you'd want to figure out how to play through that. Like the
How
university
do you use
faction
it to your
here,
advantage?
yeah, the university faction has a whopping 2 gun cost for one of its actions, but it gives universal contact tokens as
Mhm.
opposed to red or gray or blue. Red, yes. Okay, did I say the colors right? Okay. Anything else? I mean, everything else like a lot more subtle to the expansions. We haven't played admittedly haven't played the expansions as
Mhm.
much as we played Imperial Settlers. Okay, so um,
Don't be afraid to be evil. Raise
mm,
your opponent's cards if you have to. This is not a game where being nice will give you a
this
benefit.
is not 51st State Best Friends race. Does that work? Okay, yeah, I'm gonna stick with it. But no, but really, because it's just part of the game,
Mhm.
and it may, but even as the player who gets raised, like it doesn't, it may set you back in terms of the card I set up is gone, but it will give you other things, and it may maneuver things so that you can do other
Oh,
things.
darn it. Now I'm thinking of writing a fan expansion.
Eh?
51st State Friendship. You could spend your raise tokens to help someone rather than destroy, and you both benefit.
I think that's what the Allies expansion does. Okay, wait, wait. Yeah, and I guess the other weird question is like, okay, if you had to choose, which is the step, the redheaded step, no, it's like the cruel Sophie's Choice thing, 51st State or Imperial Settlers.
um, I'll be evil and say Imperial Settlers, only because it is thrivingly getting more content. As
Although
far as
technically speaking, the mainline
that
Imperial
has stopped.
Settlers has ended.
Yeah,
What's growing is Empires of the
that's
North,
true.
right?
That's true.
But the main Imperial Settlers, we wrapped up with like the Amazons.
But 51st State didn't have ninjas.
Okay, because of the grittier art, yes, you don't have comical ninjas hiding
Unless we
on the
never
boxes.
found the ninja hiding in 51st State.
That could
Because
also be
we
possible. It's
because we
very
found
dark.
because we found the ninja in Imperial Settlers, and then we realized we've been staring at the ninja in Empires of the North.
That was annoying.
'Cause what is
That
this
was
thing?
very
What?
annoying.
It's the ninja.
That was annoying. Why was there a black follower in the box?
So yeah,
Annoying. Yeah. Just a
and
little portal in jokes.
and I'll have to admit, and I think Ignacy's gonna hate me for saying this.
Mm.
Until we get an English version of the role playing game,
Oh no!
it's hard to really love this game.
No, he said he's had so many vlogs saying it's never gonna come
I
out in
know,
English.
but this world is so rich. You really want to grasp
there
and
is
embrace it so much
there is a
more.
fascinating nature to it just by playing the games around it on the periphery. By playing Neuroshima Hex and 51st State, you're always like, what the heck is this Moloch and why are these robots?
Why are nets so powerful?
Why are nets so powerful?
And why do we have robots that dance? I mean, seriously, it's a beautiful world.
Mm.
The evocative stories behind the cards are just
And the
you're
art,
dying to learn them.
the art. I mean, the art's always been great, but I think the master set art onwards like really elevated things to another level.
I mean, seriously, if you won't make an English version of the RPG, maybe you can talk to Netflix.
Wow, like it's so easy, right? Right. And
Hey,
we've never sent him cookies, so
Hey.
I don't think we have clout enough to
we've
ask
seen
for
terrible
more.
adaptations that are out there, so I'm sure they'd enjoy better material to
Mm.
work with.
Okay. Although Neuroshima was a product of its time, I mean, like it reflects some older RPG story elements, and that's fine. That's fine. It's just that warning. Okay. But yeah, but no, I think I will admit Imperial Settlers obviously, and it benefits from being the later product, like streamlining it down to a fixed number of rounds. The faction cards are phenomenal. I love what faction decks do to the whole experience. But I still have a healthy respect for 51st State. I really like the playthrough of it. I think we need to. Admittedly, we need to make more time to play this. We have played Imperial Scepter so many times. We have to play this more. Especially, I haven't played all the expansions that we've gotten. So that's another thing that's our caveat for this. And I'm still all in, and I'm pledging for the Game Found. I'm getting the upgrade kit plus the No Man's Land expansion plus the upgrade kit to change our components up to Ultimate Edition equivalent level.
So far,
So far, that is true. Okay, I say this as someone who backed the Year of Moloch for Neuroshima Hex, which was a complete storage solution for all of the then released factions of the game. Hooray, phenomenal. It looked beautiful when I brought it out. By the time I had gotten everything set up and tracked down that darn death machine, I think what was it? Was it that there was one faction I had missed? I think it was the death machine. They
Was it
released
Beasts?
no. Then they released Beasts. Then like what? There's a new expansion for
And Beast doesn't
Neuroshima,
fit the box.
and Beast does not have a slot in the Year of Moloch edition box that stores everything. So it's like so painful. And the fact that there is still new 51st State content, not even just the No Man's Land expansion. Before that, they also had the Moloch that came out in Year of Moloch. So I'm on to you, Portal, but I'm still gonna give you money, and I'm still gonna throw. You put any campaign out, I'm pre-ordering.
It's not on Duolingo. No?
What, Polish?
Yeah.
I don't.
Maybe we
I
can
haven't
learn
known it.
and then we can like translate the game for our personal
My
play.
my German my German lessons often include mentions that Polish is hard but beautiful. Polnisch ist schwer, aber schon. Okay, this has gone on quite a while. Any last things on 51st State?
The RPG.
Okay. Obviously, Toby. I mean, we love tabletop role playing games, and ever since Toby found out that these games are based on an RPG world, this is like it's a recurring. Like he's actually invested time looking for it.
And it's not just 51st State. There's also Lord of the Ice Garden.
Oh my god.
And I want to read the original.
Oh my god. Okay, because we have the board game for Lord of the Ice Garden, which ironically Toby pledged that campaign because Ignacy talked about it also.
Mhm.
And then we're like, okay, now we own this game for an IP we have never heard of,
And no one else knows of.
for a fiction series that is not in English
And
also.
you play the villains.
And you play the villains of the book. But it's also quite a clever area control game. And I've said this many a time on this show that I am not the biggest fan
Mm.
of area control. But because the player powers are so diverse, like I really like that.
And
It's
the
so
play
funny.
styles are very different.
Yeah, and it's funny because some could argue it has some similarities with games like, what was that, Kemet?
Mm.
Or that, because it also, that was like Egyptian area control
Yeah.
thing. But I love Lord of the Ice Garden more
Mm.
because it has multiple paths to victory.
And multiple paths to victory or multiple paths to end the game to ruin people's plans.
Because
Corruption!
magic is terrible. And the more you magic use,
Fame!
it just gets worse. And the hero comes looking for you. All right, we're on a weird band of Polish things.
Okay,
this is
but yeah.
Ignacy's fault and proud legacy on gamers like us
Mm-mm.
in a random country like the Philippines, where shipping from the Portal store always costs me a fixed amount because it is that one DHL shipping that, whether it's like an expansion box this or a big a big game
It's
this
the same
big,
amount.
it's the same box.
And we are
But we still love you and
and
we
we
still
are
do it.
and we are still eagerly awaiting the Robinson Crusoe set that will eventually come out.
Oh yeah, we still haven't. Yeah, we're
With the
that.
Book of
That was the last
Adventures
game found, which
and
was
all the
Toby.
others.
Toby has a scenario in the Book of
So,
Adventures.
we're-
Hey. And then you can also pre-order for the Batman Everybody Lies
Yes.
deduction game based on the detective engine. We're just, see, this is not a paid post. We just love Portal.
I wonder though, since they got the Batman license, will they be able to release more Batman detective games? But it's the different eras, like the Frank Miller era or the Batman Adventures era.
I don't know.
That would be
It's
awesome if they
theoretically
could.
possible. It depends on the scope of the DC license they
Mhm.
have to produce things. But we know that it's not going to be alone. There's going to be there could be a sequel to Dune House Secrets.
Or
Ah.
like a Batman Lies for Kids edition, and you play Batman.
I don't know if we should have a game for kids that has lies in the title. Things to consider.
But yeah, I think that's it. That's our show.
We haven't done quite a good cover image, I think, for the game. How do you want to do it?
Oh.
Oh wait, and then maybe I should like
Hold
some of these expansions.
Yeah.
Because then I can do.
Wait, no, the logo.
You should
would
be
there.
more. You should be more.
There.
Wait, and I guess I will try to just. This is complicated. Okay, wait. Okay, Ren. Okay. Or is it mom? Okay, one of those will be the cover image for this video. Thank you. All right. So, yeah, but get. Oh, I will have one. I tweeted about this. Nobody really acknowledged me. Okay. The only challenge I have is that 51st State. So scavengers, and then you have allies, right? And then allies together, right? Okay, that still makes sense. Moloch. And there, it's both sides. There's no, they changed orientation for some reason. So when I get our copy of No Man's Land, I will find out if I will be frustrated or not. So yeah, we can put Moloch back here. Where's my? I know I'm supposed to have the server room, or did I put it in?
With Moloch.
Okay, maybe it's in the Euromoloch. Did I put it with Neuroshima by mistake? Okay. Yes. So that's our discussion for 51st State Master Set, which for a while was the penultimate of 51st Stateness, but now you have the ultimate edition. You have like 3 hours left. So if you want to pledge, it's totally worth it.
And if you are watching this and it's past the campaign, Still buy it if you can.
Yeah, and I'm sure there's gonna be like a late pledge moment on GameFound or
Or a
something.
retail option.
And
at
it's definitely
least.
going to be some retail options, although certain things will not be available at retail. I feel for you very much. It's okay. Then you'll join me in things like trying to find the arena. Okay. I've been looking for the arena for years. That's our show.
Thank you
Okay.
for watching.
If you have questions or suggestions for future episodes, you can fill up the Google form at bit.ly Baduy Pride Ideas. You can follow us on Twitter, Altobino Shade, RG
You
Suniko.
could also check out our blog, baduypride.com, for all the previous episodes and stuff about us.
Feel free to continue the conversation in the comments below and let us know what you thought about 51st State, or are you also an Imperial Settlers purist? Or are you surprised that Alien Artifacts is a game that exists and you should not sleep on that one either?
Or they'll eventually release Rise of the State,
What,
where it's
what
Rise
is
of the
that?
Empire re-implemented for the 51st State universe. Ooh, that can work.
Be sure to subscribe for notifications, whether on Facebook or YouTube, so you don't miss our next live stream. Once again, I'm Rocky.
And I'm Toby.
And this is Baduy Pride. Good night, everyone.
Portal Games is awesome.
We love Portal games. Not a sponsor,